نبدأ بالsyllabus. We have reading, writing, and vocabulary development. For the reading part, we will discuss topic sentences, using a topic sentence to help understanding. And we will also discuss writer's opinion, identifying the writer's opinion, also to help you understand the text. All right. For the writing part, we're going to talk about commas and linking ideas. In linking ideas, we are going to talk about in addition and, which gives you basically the same meaning. And also we have using pronouns in the writing part to avoid repetition. And finally, in the vocabulary development, we have prefixes. طبعا يا شباب مثل ما قلت لكم سابقا، إذا أكو مشكلة بالصوت أو إذا أكو مشكلة بالصورة بلغوني حتى نحاول أن نحل الإشكال بسرعة. اليوم راح نتكلم عن هذه القطعة أو راح نتناول هذا الموضوع بالريدنج بارت مالتنا اللي هو title says food from field to plate. Food miles from field to plate. This text has 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, as you can see here, and you see the title. And as always, we said before we start reading, we do a surveying. We survey the text. Why we survey the text? Because that will help you predict what the text is talking about. So like this one, it says food miles from field to plate. So we think that this text is going to talk about food. It's going to talk about farmers. It's going to talk about transportation, maybe. Okay, this is how we predict what the text is about. Okay, now from your surveying or from your predictions, let us try to answer these questions. What do you think food mile means? Just by prediction. We don't need to use a dictionary here, or we don't need to read the text. Just by surveying, what do you think food mile means? If you have any idea about food mile. If you don't, that's fine.
توصيل الغذاء.
Any idea what that means in English?
Transformation of the food from country to other.
Well, that's one prediction. Another one is how many miles food travels from one country to another. What information will you find in the article? Well, we think we are going to find information about where food comes from. Like, is it come from the same city that you live in, or from the same country, or even sometimes from different countries? Okay? Now, question number 3, or the third one. Which words will you find in the text? What do you expect? Are you going to find teacher, farmer,
Farmer,
tennis,
Farmer,
tennis,
distance, fresh,
might
I
might
think.
also be
also
one of them,
one of
television, satellite, fresh, book, airplanes, happy, distance, up, or watch. Also, fresh might be in the text because we are talking about food. So we think we will find the fresh. And since we are talking about transportation, so maybe airplanes, also distance, because we said the title says food mile. That could be in the text. So now, even before we read the text, we have an idea what the text is talking about. We have an idea what the information that we will find in the article. Okay? As we said, our subject today is topic sentences. Topic sentences most of the time is at the beginning of the paragraph. Mostly it is the first sentence of the paragraph, but that doesn't mean it is always the first sentence. Sometimes the second or the third sentence. But anyway, a topic sentence tells you what a paragraph is about. As I said, it is usually the first sentence in the paragraph. It is important to identify why? Because they help you read and understand a text more quickly. That is why it's important to identify topic sentences in each and every paragraph, because it will help you in understanding the text. Okay? Now, we have these 5 topic sentences. Let us see which one belongs to what paragraph. Like the first one, A. What is wrong with a lot of food miles? This one, according to the text, belongs to paragraph number 4. Okay? B. Traditionally, farmers sold their food in the local market. So the food did not have to travel very far. This one is the topic sentence of the second paragraph, paragraph number 2. C, topic sentence C, nowadays the food that you buy comes from many different countries. This one is the topic sentence of paragraph number 1. D, tomatoes are not tasty nowadays because of food miles. Well, this sentence doesn't belongs to any paragraph, because we don't have a paragraph that is talking about why tomatoes are not tasty and what is the relationship between tomatoes taste and the number of food miles. Okay? And finally, the last one, some countries have to import most of their food. This one is the topic sentence of the third paragraph, paragraph number 3. How could you know that? By skimming the text. So if you remember, the first thing that we did is surveying. Before we read the text, we surveyed it. And surveying, as we said, reading the titles and the subheadings and make predictions. That is surveying. Then you skim the text. Skimming the text just to know the general idea. Okay, what is the general idea of the text? What are the ideas of each and every paragraph? Just by skimming, which is reading the text very quickly. If you skim the text, you will be able to get the answers for these questions, or you will be able to match each and every topic sentence with the paragraph that it belongs to. Okay? Now, let us try to find the meanings for each of the following underlined words. Before we go and answer these questions, how can we find the meanings for these words? We can do that by scanning. As you can see, we did surveying, skimming. Now we move to scanning, which is reading text quickly, but not for the general idea, reading the text quickly for specific information. Like in this case, in our case, we are looking for the meanings of these words, which means specific information. So now, number one, check the origins of the food. What do you think the word origins mean?
Sources.
Sources. The places where the food comes from. Origins are the sources of the food. Very good. Number two, nowadays, food often travels thousands of miles to get to the consumer. What is the meaning of consumer here?
The person who buys the food.
The person who buys the food. Exactly. Very good. That is the meaning of the word consumer in this sentence. Okay? And again, you can get that by scanning. You go to the text, you go back to the text, and you look for the words. You look for the word origins. You look for the word consumer, or you look for the word disadvantages. However, there were some disadvantages. What disadvantages are?
Some bad thing about the system.
Some bad things about the system. This is one of the meanings of disadvantages. Okay? Now, number four. They are available in if we want. Available.
On the market.
On the market, which means we can get them. That's the meaning of available here. And finally, the last one, number five, even food made in the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, often uses imported materials. Imported.
Coming from other country.
Coming from other countries. So, as you can see, you would be able to answer the questions fairly quickly and without losing a lot of time. Okay, this is especially helpful to you in your exams, when you do quizzes, when you do exams. You don't have a lot of time, so that's why you need surveying, skimming, and scanning to help you read quickly. You need, or you have to learn these three methods. And if you remember, we talked about these last year. We talked about surveying, skimming, and scanning last semester, and we will keep talking about them next year and the year after. All right. Now, for the next subject in our reading part, which is the writer's opinion. You can usually find out the writer's opinion if you read carefully. Okay, the writer opinion should be in the text most of the times. A good writer gives both sides of an argument, which means a good writer gives you the advantages and the disadvantages, but also has an opinion. So a good writer will give you the advantages and the disadvantages, and at the end, in the conclusion, a good writer will give you his or her own opinion, which may be that he likes the subject or he dislikes the subject. It depends, okay? Now, like this exercise, we have 3 sentences, everyone represent an opinion. According to the previous text, the text that says food miles, okay, we expect that sentence number 2, it is good that we can eat strawberries in winter, is the writer's opinion regarding the previous text, okay, the previous article. Okay, so if you go back and read the text, you will find that this one represents the writer's opinion. It is good that we can eat strawberries in winter. And this is just example that is related to that text. If you read another article, you will find other opinions. Okay? Now, let us try to fill in the blanks. We have this paragraph here, and we have 10 blanks and 10 words in the box. Here, this one. So let us try to fill in these blanks with those words. A food mile is the blank that food travels from the farmer's field to the blank. So what do you think number 1 is?
Distance.
Distance.
A food mile is the distance that food travels from the farmer's field to the
Customer.
Consumer.
consumer. In the past, people went to their blank market to buy food.
Local.
To their local market to buy food. That was in the past. One blank was that they could only buy food that was in blank. One disadvantage was that they could only buy food that was in
Season.
season, which means if you want, as example, want to buy fruit, so in summer you are limited to fruits that only available during summer season. In winter you are only limited to food that is only available during winter, and so on. For example, tomatoes in the summer, as we said, only available during summertime, but that was in the past. Okay. Number 6, blank, however, we can send food around the world. And we nowadays, however, we can send food around the world, and we can eat any food at any time of the year. Like nowadays, as example, like tomatoes It is available around the year. Whenever you go to the market, you will find tomatoes there. Some countries, such as the UAE, use a lot of blank food.
Important.
They have
Imported.
difficult climate.
Imported.
Imported food. Why they use a lot of imported food? Because they have difficult climates. Food miles are a problem. Blank, we use
Because
more oil
Because
because we use more oil and blank
Petrol.
petrol.
and petrol. Food miles are a problem because we use more oil
Caution.
and petrol. This causes
Pollution.
pollution. This causes pollution and global warming. Okay, let's move on. Now, do you have any question about the reading part before we move on to the writing? Do you have questions about the reading? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, let us move to the writing part. As I said, in the writing, we are going to discuss punctuation. In our subject today, we are going to talk about commas. If you remember, we talked about commas last year, and we said we use commas in list. If you want to list more than one thing in your sentence, you use comma to separate those. Also, you use comma before and. If you are connecting two sentences together, the word and, you use comma before and. Like, look at the sentences. Tasty loaf contains ingredients such as flour and sugar from Australia, Germany, China, Malaysia, and India. We use commas to separate the things in the list, like the countries here: Australia, Germany, China, Malaysia, and India. We used commas before each and every one. Also, as you can see, you can put a comma before and. If you have more than one thing in a list, you can put a comma before and. Like we have here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries. So we use commas, and you can put comma before the last one, before and. But previously, in this one, as we said, tasty loaf contains ingredients such as flour and sugar, because these are just two things, flour and sugar. We didn't have to use comma before and. Just pay attention to that. And the use of comma here is optional. You can use comma before and, or you can just put it without a comma. Okay? The other subject in the writing part is the linking ideas, which is the use of in addition and and. We use in addition and to join two similar ideas, two sentences that contains two ideas that are not different, okay, or to add extra information. In addition, the same meaning, but in addition is more formal than and. So if you are writing, let us say, an email to your friend, you can use and. you are writing an email to one of your professors, you should use in addition because it is more formal. Okay, look at these examples. George studies hard at university. In addition, he has a part-time job in a hotel. Sentence B, George studies hard at university and he has a part-time job in a hotel. Basically, in addition and here gives you the same meaning. The difference is in the formality of the sentence. So when you want to use in addition or and, you need to think about your sentence. Is it formal or informal? And second, when you join the sentences with and, you join both sentences, you put a comma, then and, then the second sentence. But with in addition, you end the first sentence with full stop. If you can see the dot here, George studies hard at university, dot. Then you start your second sentence with in addition. You start with capital letter I, in addition, comma, then the second sentence. He has a part-time job in a hotel. And you finish with a full stop. Okay? Now, do you have questions about commas, in addition, linking ideas? All right. So, if you don't have questions, we will stop here today. And we will start with a quiz. We will have a quiz now. We will stop our lecture. We will stop our presentation and we will have a quiz. I will give you the link for the quiz in the chat. You have the link for the Google form for the quiz for today in the chat of the Google Meet.